morning, everyone. I would invite you to rise in body or in spirit and turn in our gray hymnal to hymn number 298, Wake Now My Senses, very appropriately an old Irish tune, number 298.
Good morning and welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Ann Arbor, a beacon of light in this community since 1865. I'm the Reverend Kimberley Debus, and I have been honored to be your sabbatical minister while your senior minister, the Reverend Manish Mishra-Marzetti, is completing a much-deserved time of rest and rejuvenation. I'm coming to you today from my studio in the DC metro area where the sun is beginning to peek out from the clouds, and there are beautiful daffodils outside my window and leaves bursting out in celebration of spring. A special hello to those who are also online and to those watching later. If you're new to us and are online, please introduce yourself in the chat and fill out the survey at UUAA.org/newcomer survey so we can more easily connect with you. If you're new and in person, I invite you to a newcomer welcome held in the Redmond Room after the service. It's just outside the sanctuary doors, the first room on the left. There's a sign and a friendly face, and someone will be there to answer any questions about the congregation or about Unitarian Universalism. And I'll take one last chance to remind you about your contribution to the While You Were Out scrapbook that will welcome Reverend Manish back to Ann Arbor with your thoughts and experiences and things you wish to share. You have just a couple of weeks to finish your pages and turn them into the office so this collection can be presented to Manish upon his return. Let us now settle our spirits as we hear these words from Gretchen Haley. We have already missed too much beauty, our minds so mixed up with multitasking, toggling back and forth between hope and fear, worry, and wonder. The sun rises with an insistent light, and the morning breaks with the promise of the holy, disguised as babies gurgling and dogs groaning, and the flame that is kindled week upon week with promises to love and to serve and to dwell together in peace. All this day asks is that we risk showing up with our eyes open, that we might bear witness to the whole of life, that we might let in this much love, this much grace, to know ourselves a part of this possibility, to remember and to forgive, to heal and to be better. Come, let us worship together.
We often search out moments of beauty. We specifically go to a museum, say, to see things that someone has considered belong in a place we associate with beautiful things. We go to concerts, people singing or playing instruments, dancing or acting, producing something beautiful. We go into nature to intentionally be in a beautiful place. As the service started, I was reminded of how this place, and particularly this morning time of worship, is one of the most beautiful things I encounter every week. And it's not because of its location, or the music and poetry that I hear, or the art that's around me, though all of those things are wonderful and contribute to my experience, but really, it's because of the community of people that are gathered to do this thing we call worship together. And when one is away from the community for even a week, returning to it feels good and right, and well, just beautiful. We have a very simple ritual, the lighting of a chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, that we do each time we gather. And if you are watching on live stream and have a candle or a chalice nearby, would you get it ready to light it along with us? And when you do, you could share in the chat where the chalice is lit. This ritual connects us to each other and to UUs across the country and even the world who may be lighting their chalices at this very same moment. This ritual reminds me of the beauty of being in community. I invite Leah Class to come and help us light the chalice this morning. And as she's coming forward, would you be ready to speak these words with me, the words we use each week? We light this chalice for the light of truth. We light this chalice for the warmth of love. We light this chalice for the energy of action. We light this chalice for the harmony of peace. Thank you, Leah. Another thing that makes this community beautiful is this thing we call our covenant, the promises we make to each other of how we want to be in relationship. Covenant is foundational to what Unitarian Universalism is. So think about what it is we're saying and how this idea really connects us. So while you say these words, today, look around at who you are in relationship with. And if you are here for the very first time or have said these words for more times than you can remember, I invite you all to speak to each other and with me our covenant. The spirit of this church is love, and service is its law. This is our covenant with each other, to dwell together in peace, to search for truth in love, and to help one another.
Beauty, much like love, is hard to define in one concise turn of phrase. It's more of a feeling than something that you can easily put into words. You know it when you experience it. But we can at least use our words to share those moments when we have found beauty. And so I ask you, when have you experienced beauty? What do you find beautiful? And I'd love to hear from you, and I will do my best to repeat what I hear. Roses, flowers, birds, squirrels, snow. We should get some of that today, actually. Smiles, sunsets, the desert, campfire, nature. I heard one over here. Faces, lovely. Recovery. Adorable puppies. Smiles, kittens. Children. What was that? Poetry. Singing. Anything else? Anything that was not something you could either see or hear? A kiss. I love that. A hug. I heard one from back there. The you. Oh, I think maybe we should stop right there. That was fantastic. Thank you for offering all of these amazing examples of beauty that we can find in the world. I wonder what the animals in our story for all ages this morning have to say about beauty. Let's find out. How beautiful. Words by Antonella, Capetti. Pictures by Melissa Castrillon. Once, there was a caterpillar. He was happy on his leaf. Actually, leaves. There were lots. Every day, he'd sleep, eat, crawl around, and sleep some more. It was a good, simple life. He never questioned anything. Until one day, while he was rambling from leaf to leaf, he was suddenly lifted off the ground. He was hanging by a twig. He knew twigs very well. Leaves were often attached to them. But this twig didn't have any leaves and was moving higher very quickly. The caterpillar looked up. An unknown thing was standing in front of him. It had a strange smell, unlike the usual scent of forest, moss, and wet soil. "You're so beautiful," the unknown thing said. Then it gently laid him and the twig down, and as suddenly as it had arrived, it went away. Beautiful. Nobody had ever told the caterpillar he was beautiful before. But what does beautiful mean, he wondered. He asked a bear who padded by. "Oh, this is beautiful," the bear answered, lifting up a honeycomb between its paws. "Not at all," a blackbird nearby uttered. "That's not beautiful, that's tasty. Honey is tasty to bears, leaves are tasty to caterpillars, and caterpillars are tasty to blackbirds." The caterpillar quickly crept backward. Inside a heap of dry leaves, 3 squirrels were playing hide and seek. "What does beautiful mean?" the caterpillar asked them. The squirrels paused. "Oh, these dry leaves are beautiful," one of them cried out, and they all started rolling and hiding again. No, the blackbird said. "Those are not beautiful. Those are fun." The caterpillar moved on. As it started raining, he bumped into a mouse. "Do you know what beautiful means?" he asked the mouse. The mouse nodded. "This mushroom is beautiful." The mouse ducked underneath it. The blackbird broke in right away. No, that's not beautiful, that's useful. "And not to everyone," the bear added, taking cover under an oak tree. The rain stopped, but the caterpillar felt sad. He used to feel so content. He used to have no thoughts, no questions, no worries. Now, all he wanted was to find out what beautiful meant. Then the caterpillar remembered an unusual deer who had moved to the forest recently. The deer spent most of its time thinking, while resting on a sofa that had been abandoned in the forest. The deer must know a lot about beauty, the caterpillar decided. Can you tell me what beautiful means? The caterpillar asked the deer. Of course, the deer answered. This seat is beautiful. It is not, the blackbird said. That's comfortable, but not beautiful for sure. The deer hadn't been able to help after all, and the caterpillar felt tired now. If only he could go home to his leaf and get rid of the blackbird and the bothersome question. But the question wouldn't leave him alone. All he could do was keep asking and hope for the right answer. A mole's face peeked out from a hole. Can you tell me what's beautiful? The caterpillar asked. It's very beautiful down here, the mole replied. Naturally, the blackbird chimed in. It might be warm and cozy down there, but I don't think it's beautiful. But what does beautiful mean? The caterpillar asked the blackbird. If you know so much, you should tell me. That's beautiful, the blackbird shouted suddenly, wildly lunging toward an empty can. How silly, the other animals exclaimed. That's not beautiful, that's shiny. The caterpillar sighed. Even he knew that. And now night was falling. He'd never find an answer. Slowly, the tired animals lay on the ground with their noses and beaks pointed toward the sky. The caterpillar looked up too and gasped. How beautiful, they all exclaimed. Beautiful. The caterpillar smiled. So it was. The end. I'm sure that many of you know that on April 8th, there will be a total solar eclipse. Is anyone planning to travel down to the Cleveland area, Sandusky, Ohio, to see it, to be in the path of totality? Quite a few of you. I remember the last total solar eclipse back in 2017. The path of totality was significantly farther away, but many people made long treks to experience it in person. Did anyone here happen to do that? Oh, a good number of you. My brother and his family live in Phoenix, Arizona, and they traveled to Casper, Wyoming, which was like one of those spots that everybody wanted to go to. And he actually reserved his campsite, I think, 5 years in advance. That is my brother in a nutshell. He described being there as one of those life-altering moments. And while the eclipse itself was awesome, what stayed with him was the reaction of all the people experiencing it together. The darkness descending, the birds quieting down, the temperature dropping. It was a total sensory experience. And listening to everyone reacting in real time. I remember watching videos of this, and it was that crescendo of audible gasps and shrieks and cries of excitement and awe. We may all have different ideas of what beauty looks like, or feels like, or smells like, or sounds like, or tastes like. But there are those moments of consensus when we come together and experience beauty in community. As Theresa said, this sanctuary, rich with the gift of our collective presence in body and in spirit, offers the opportunity to experience beauty every Sunday. From the flickering flame of our chalice to the harmonious sound of our voices singing in unison, from radiant smiles and sometimes glistening tears, to those meaningful moments that enrich our minds and touch our hearts. Beauty is everywhere. May it always be so. And now is the time in our service when we sing our children to their programs. I invite all of our young people to follow their teachers to the lower level, remembering to walk and not run or skip, as the congregation sings with love and tenderness.
Within our denomination, our congregation is justly celebrated for its far-reaching social justice work. Many groups contribute to the beautiful tapestry of love and action we are creating together. This month, our social justice connection features our partner church program and our long-standing relationship to our partner church in Transylvania. Here to tell us more about this strong and mutually beneficial collaboration are Phyllis Valentine, Donna Clark, and Cathy Muha. Please give them your warmest welcome.
At UUAA, we're proud to say that our congregation has been committed to liberal religious action since 1865. In Transylvania, our Unitarian partners celebrate 1568, the date of the Edict of Torda, a declaration of religious toleration. Ethnically Hungarian, our partners live in a region that has experienced political struggles and wars, changing national boundaries, and the hardships brought by that turmoil. In the 20th century, they became part of Romania and endured 40 years of communist rule after World War II. Today, under a Romanian government, they continue to struggle to maintain their Hungarian ethnic identity and language. Our fellow Unitarians hold fast to their faith and principles. Begun 27 years ago, our partnership is with a congregation in the city of Kezdi-Várshely. The minister lives in a nearby village and serves the village congregation as well. The association began as a spiritual and social justice effort. Here's a photograph of the first minister and her family, and you can see Barbara Lynn, the second from the right, part of the first visit in 1999. And the photo was taken by Ken Pfeiffer, our minister at the time. Early on, we provided money and sweat equity, purchased an apartment for meeting space, painted the parsonage, and provided room and board for 2 university students each year. About 15 years ago, we started supplementing the minister's salary when the Romanian government cut salaries by 25%. In Romania, religious leaders are paid by the government.
Over the years, we've gotten to know 2 successive ministers, members of both congregations, and the students we've supported. We've made 4 visits to Transylvania since 2008, and they have visited us too, the last time in 2017. In our travels, we've celebrated many major events with them, stayed in their homes, and shared many meals. Their ministers have celebrated Halloween and visited habitat houses with us, and participated in our services and stayed in our homes. Now we have the joy of working together on their social justice projects like equine therapy, a music program for senior citizens, and an after-school program which takes place in the village. We help provide supplies, a saddle, LP, and arts and crafts supplies so far. Our Transylvanian friends are actively involved in a Hungarian Unitarian relief organization called Providence in English. Through Providence, they gather and distribute food and wood locally, as well as supplies for Ukrainian refugees. Most recently, they are providing supplies for a kindergarten established for Ukrainian children in the Unitarian school buildings. Yes, a Unitarian school in Kosovar, Romania. We hope you've seen photos of these activities we have shared on the UUA Facebook page.
Several women from our UUAA group join with other Unitarian women around the world in bi-weekly Zoom meetings sponsored by the International Convocation of Unitarian Universalist Women, or ICUUW. Fundraising efforts by this group have supported relief efforts for Ukraine, both in Romania and in Ukraine. The group has sponsored international meetings in the past. In 2010, a meeting held in Texas brought the then partner minister, Reverend Maria Pop, and their board chair to Ann Arbor afterwards. This year's convocation in early September in Kolišvar, Romania, will provide an opportunity to attend the meeting and travel before and/or afterwards. And this is a picture of the convocation poster. There will be tours for those who do not want to attend the convocation. We continue to work on the details. We know we will visit our partners in Kestivasharhe and the village. Kolišvar is rich in Unitarian and Transylvanian history, housing the Unitarian archives. Our tours have always included visits to places of historical and religious significance. Our partners frequently tell us that they are waiting for us. Come see us at our table in the social hall to learn more. Thank you.
Phyllis, Donna, Cathy, thank you for filling us in on both the history of our partnership and our continuing bond with our friends in Kestivasharhe. My own trip there in April 1999, along with then Senior Minister Ken Pfeiffer, was the first such visit from UUAA to our partner church, and a deeply moving experience I will always treasure. Today's offerings will go to the programs and ministries of this congregation. As we consider the gifts we bring, let us reflect on the myriad ways UUAA makes a difference in our own lives, our community, and out across the world. What we do matters, and our giving, the spiritual practice of mindful generosity, undergirds all that we do. There are a number of ways for you to participate. You may text UUAA to 73256 or visit uuaa.org/giving and select weekly offering for the fund. Or you may fall back on the tried and true and drop cash or checks into the baskets. However you choose to give, thank you for your generosity. I invite the ushers to please come forward as this morning's offering is gratefully given and received. Speaking of gifts, thank you, Chalice Singers. That was so lovely. And now, as our ushers come forward, I invite you to rise in body or in spirit. Let us lift up our words of dedication as the binding promise they are. Together, let us say, to the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings. Thank you. You may be seated.
Beauty by David White. Beauty is the harvest of presence, the evanescent moment of seeing or hearing on the outside what already lives far inside us. The eyes, the ears, or the imagination suddenly become a bridge between the here and the there, between the then and the now, between inside and outside. Beauty is the conversation between what we think is happening in the world and what is just about to come to harvest far inside us. Beauty is an achieved state of both deep attention and self-forgetting. The self-forgetting of seeing, hearing, smelling, or touching that erases our separation, our distance, our fear of the other. Beauty invites us through entrancement to that fearful frontier between what we think makes us and what we think makes the world. Beauty is almost always found in symmetries. The symmetries seen out in creation, the wings of the moth, the airy sky, and the solid earth, the restful, focused eyes of a loving face in which we see our own self reflected. The symmetry also, therefore, of bringing together inner and outer recognitions. The far horizon of otherness seen in that face, joined to the deeper inner horizon of our own being. Beauty is an inner and an outer complexion, living in one face. Beauty especially occurs in the meeting of time with the timeless. The passing moment framed by what has happened and what is about to occur. The scattering of the first spring apple blossom. The turning, spiraling flight of a curled leaf in the falling light. The smoothing of white, sun-filled sheets by careful hands, setting them to air on a line. The broad expanse of cotton, filled by the breeze only for a moment, the sheets sailing on into dryness, billowing toward a future that is always beckoning, always just beyond us. Beauty is the harvest of presence.
There is light in the soul.
When we talk about beauty, we often think first of nature. I mean, it's easy to do, and for those in the sanctuary right now, all you have to do is look and see the daffodil buds and the almost leaves on the trees. And despite what sounds like a chance of snow there, you know the world is about to burst forth in lush green beauty. But as we've already talked about, beauty isn't just in nature. Beauty and our sense of it is deeper, bigger, almost too intangible to define. We've heard the words of David Whyte as he's tried to define it, and the philosopher George Santayana tried to define it in 1898 and spilled a lot of ink trying. Santayana focused on the aesthetic of beauty, and he endeavored to separate it from psychology or religion, poorly in my opinion. Yet, along the way, he landed on this definition, written in the gendered language of his day. He wrote, "Beauty is a value that is not a perception or a matter of fact or relation. It is an emotion, an affectation of our volitional and appreciative nature. An object cannot be beautiful if it can give pleasure to nobody. A beauty to which all men were forever indifferent is a contradiction in terms. This value is positive. It is the sense of the presence of something good or of its absence. So, something is beautiful if we appreciate it, if it appeals to us. And that explains why beauty is so subjective, at least the beauty that we can sense with our eyes and our ears and our tongue and our hands and our nose. I mean, I think a well-executed Jackson Pollock painting is beautiful. Others turn from its chaos. Some of you think the taste of olives is uniquely beautiful. I think they are an abomination unto my tongue. But it may also explain why capitalism has worked so hard to tell us what beauty is. If we all agree, then we're going to buy their products, which then sets up expectations, especially around body image, which is a topic for another day. But even as we accept that we do take in beauty and judge beauty by the 5 senses, we know there's more than just how it appeals to us. There's more to just how it appeals to us. And I think our sense of beauty goes deeper. As Whyte says, it is about a moment. The first bloom, the perfect phrase, the exquisite lyric, the taste that takes your breath away. We long to savor them because they are perfect for a moment, beautiful for a moment, and we know they're fleeting. So if we expand to the other 49 senses, yes, 49 according to eco-psychologist Michael Cohen, we discover other kinds of beauty. Let's take a short tour of these senses. Now I invite you to hold an object that's near you, anything at all. It could be a book or a pen or a piece of paper, a coffee mug, a blanket, a phone, whatever object is near. I happen to have this ornament of a saguaro. So first we observe it through the radiation senses, the sense of light and shadow, temperature, color. Notice any moods or identities or things attached to the colors and shadows. Now observe it through the feeling senses. What does it feel like to the skin? Its weight, and gravity, and balance. Your sense of proximity in space. Any sense of motion or mobility. Next, observe it through the chemical senses. The smell, and only as appropriate, the taste. Consider the object's relationship to humidity and moistness, to hunger and thirst, to other reactions. Next, consider the senses of form and design, reason and logic. Let your curiosity look at how it was made, why it might be made the way it is. Next, observe it through the mental senses. What comes up in your interactions? Is there any play or pleasure, a sense of emotional connection, some dread, fear? Is there belonging, gratitude, nostalgia? Now, notice a sense of self, whether compassion or inward focus, power, friendship. Observe spiritual senses of joy or sorrow, love, ecstasy, sacrifice, assurance. And now sense its beauty, even if you don't think of it as typically beautiful. Sense those qualities that might make this object beautiful. Yeah. Suddenly now we have a sense of how expansive beauty can be. It's not just a sight or a sound, it's a texture, it's a form, it's a connection, it's a feeling. All of our being senses beauty. And beauty gives us pleasure. It appeals to us. It has values and qualities that make it appealing. We don't need to know why it appeals to our sense of beauty. As Santayana notes, to feel beauty is a better thing than to understand how we come to feel it. And still, that isn't everything. What if our sense of beauty wasn't just about the many ways we sense it and feel it, but also what it means to us? Can we make meaning out of beauty? Can we discern our work in the world through beauty? What if our sense of beauty leads to something more holy? One of my favorite examples of universalism is the one Hosea Ballou offers in the late 18th century to explain how God's love and universal salvation work. Ballou asks us to consider the child who falls into the mud. Of course, you clean the child, but do you love the child because you cleaned them, or did you clean them because you love them? So, is something beautiful only because it's been cleaned or made presentable or gone through a makeover? Or do you see the beauty and the potential underneath the grime, underneath the trauma, underneath the oppression, underneath the poverty, underneath all that keeps that child from shining, all that the world's mud has caked onto them? Now, you might argue that it's empathy or compassion that leads you there, and you wouldn't be wrong. But I wonder if it is our sense of beauty that helps us be empathetic and compassionate, that we sense the beauty of a human being, the beauty in their gentle tear, in their soul crying for solace, in their body aching for healing. And more, I wonder if it is our sense of beauty that sparks hope. I'm kind of wandering through some thoughts here, and thank you for joining me on this exploration, because I think there's something here that we take for granted. I suspect that a sense of deep, below-the-surface beauty, as subjective and volatile as it is actually the driving force for our work in the world. If we were a Christian church, I'd suggest that it's the thing in us that remembers the beauty of the unfallen Garden of Eden, and the driving force is to make the will of God on earth as it is in heaven manifest. And honestly, maybe that's not far off. Maybe instead of thinking about a perfect garden we lost when Adam and Eve were banished from the garden for eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, what if we think about it like this? We can imagine the beloved community, what things would be like if we managed to actually love the hell out of this world, if if we actually drew the circle of love so wide we didn't need a circle anymore. We can imagine, as John Lennon suggests, all the people living life in peace. Maybe that's the new Eden we long for. And that's not a bad way to understand our sense of beauty. We can harness it as the driver for our hope for a better future. That thing that compels us, the glimmer, the moment that makes our work worthwhile. I want to offer some examples. The first is, when I think about something Mother Teresa said about her work, she noted that wherever she went, no matter how heartbreaking the conditions, the filth, the poverty, the desolation, the starvation, the oppression, she always went in with a smile. She smiled at them. She smiled with them. Her smile stamped dignity upon their personhood. It offered a glimpse of beauty, which offered hope. Now, the second example is a bit longer to tell, and it involves some history. In the closing years of the Cold War, the nation of Estonia was able to win their independence from the USSR, thus starting the mass exodus and the crumbling of the Soviet Union. This small Baltic country has a massive culture of singing in families, in schools, in churches, but also in the streets, in organizations, in pubs. Anywhere people gather, they sing. Estonia has the largest collection of folk music in the world, and to celebrate their music, they've been holding a song festival every 5 years or so since 1869, a festival that in 2019 gathered over 120,000 spectators and over 35,000 singers. And to give you some perspective, Estonia only has about 1.3 million people, so that's like 10% of the population. Now, not surprisingly, and as we might remember from our history and our present, part of the aim of the Soviet Union was to turn everything they conquered into Russian things. Native histories, culture, language, even music were banned and taken over by Russian culture, history, language, and music. The song festival, called Laulaipidu, was excised of Estonian songs and filled with Russian propaganda songs. And this went on from 1945 to the 100th anniversary of the festival in 1969, when they allowed back in one Estonian song, this song which had been traditionally sung at the end of Laulaipidu, a song whose lyrics were taken from a poem by Lydia Koidula that is as central to their identity as Estonians as Emma Goldman's words, "Give me your tired, your poor," are to us. Muisa ma on minuarm, or "My fatherland is my love," was sung to the over 100,000 people who gathered. It was sung in Estonian, a song composed by a beloved Estonian musician, Gustav Ernesaks. And I'm so honored that the choir will be able to sing this for you now. in that one moment, because of that one song, the Estonians heard the beauty contrasted against the militaristic starkness of the Russian program. They heard glimpses of their national heritage, their language, their melodies, their music, their hearts. Because of the beauty of this one song, not just the loveliness, although it is lovely, but the hope intrinsic in that beauty, Estonians remembered who they were and whose they were. Slowly, they reclaimed the beauty of their identity, and once Gorbachev loosened free speech regulations in the late 1980s, Estonians used that free speech. They spoke out and began fighting for their independence. But more, they didn't just speak out, they sang out. Everywhere they greeted Russian troops with a smile and a song. They sang to these soldiers, these people meant to destroy them with tanks and guns. And the soldiers, too, would sense the beauty of these songs, these words, these people. And over again, there would be virtually no bloodshed. Thanks to this singing revolution, they were the first of the Soviet nations to become independent in 1991. As another former Soviet country is battling again the presumption of the Russian right to ownership, we see again that amidst the fighting and destruction and war crimes being perpetrated against the Ukrainian people in this protracted invasion, the Ukrainians are finding ways to hold on to their identity through images and songs, many of which come through to us now as TikTok collaborations and Instagram posts. But still, we see the beauty of this country and these people, and our compassion extends to them. This came into stark focus in May of 2022 at the 56th annual Eurovision Song Contest. Now, for the uninitiated, Eurovision is a song contest where European nations bring their best songs to compete on the world stage. Over the years, winners have highlighted the best of each nation's culture, or their best songwriters, or have simply been fabulous with sometimes spectacularly over-the-top music, costumes, and performances. The Eurovision finalists receive 2 combined scores. The jury scores is voted on from each nation, and then the combined public vote, each weighing 50%. In 2022, just a few months into the invasion in Ukraine, some really good songs were in the final, including a song from the United Kingdom that easily won the jury score. Now, Ukraine's song was good, and it was in the top 10 of the jury score, but it wasn't a favorite. And then the public vote came in with a record-smashing 95% of the public vote for a song in Ukrainian with wild costumes and instruments that recalled images of Ukrainian art and culture, a song about the composer's mother. Not a national anthem of any sort, but a lullaby to his mother, Stefania. Now, beyond the song, which is a fairly hard-rocking song with touches of Ukrainian lullaby, it works, I promise, people sensed the beauty that this group was reminding the world of, that despite the war, despite the horrific nature of this invasion, there was still beauty worth fighting for. And the people responded. And then the band members, the members of the Kalush Orchestra, went back to Ukraine to redon their uniforms and go back to the fighting. But the people kept responding. And last fall, the band realized that the song had become a beacon of hope for the people of Ukraine. And so Kalush Orchestra released another video, this one with images from the war still raging around them, with reminders that love and hope, and most of all, beauty, still exist. A sense of beauty doesn't mean the hard work is done. It means the hard work is worth doing. It means the hard work isn't in vain. Remember what White says, beauty is an achieved state of both deep attention and self-forgetting. The self-forgetting of seeing, hearing, smelling, or touching that erases our separation, our distance, our fear of the other. Beauty invites us through entrancement to that fearful frontier between what we think makes us and what we think makes the world. Bringing beauty, finding beauty, sensing those moments of beauty matters. If we are to actually draw the circle of love wide, if we are to turn our world away from hatred and destruction and embrace thriving and creation, if we are actually to build the beloved community, we have to continue to exercise and hone our sense of beauty, because that's what will win in the end. Amen.
I would invite you to rise as you're comfortably and able and willing to, and turn in the gray hymnal to hymn number 326, Let All the Beauty We Have Known, hymn number 326.
So as you know, this is Reverend Kimberley's last service with us as sabbatical minister. Kimberley, the congregation sends our deepest gratitude to you for these past 5 months. It has been a joy for the worship team to work with you on creating such delightful and insightful and, need I say, beautiful services. And on behalf of the board and all the other groups and individuals you have so expertly guided, thank you for your leadership. We have a very small token of our thanks for you, which will get mailed to you after the service. We have been so fortunate to have had the technology and the technology staff to make these virtual worship experiences happen, and all of the virtual meetings that you have attended over these months. And today, you will be able to join us via Zoom in the social hall right after the service. And this will give any of you here a chance to share personally a word or two with Reverend Kimberley during the social hour, and I invite you to do so. So look for her on the big screen TV in there. With our deepest gratitude, we welcome you back anytime.
Thank you all so much. It truly has been an honor to be with you all. I brag on you a lot. But with that, let me offer these closing words from Joel Miller. Let our lives be a prayer that waters dry souls, mends broken hearts, refuses to be terrorized, seeks this world's beauty, and carries us through its storms. Go in love, go in joy, and go in peace.